Hello everyone, welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I am going over another game mechanism, and today's game mechanism is Push Your Luck. Now Push Your Luck games are games where you are going to be doing something that you are able to stop at a certain point to collect whatever points or resources that you are able to get, or you can decide to try to go a little bit further and you may get more, or you may lose all that you have accumulated so far. And so I want to go over 5 games that do this mechanism well today. The first game I want to mention is the most basic here. It's called Zombie Dice, and it is a straight up push your luck game. And what you're going to do in this game is you are going to draw out 3 dice, like so. And I got lucky here, and I got one of each kind so I can show you. We have a green dice, we have a yellow dice, and we have a red dice. And the difference between these dice is you are more likely on the red dice to get shots, which are bad. You do not want these. On the green dice, you're more likely to get brains, which is what you are trying to collect. And the yellow dice is a very balanced dice. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll the 3 dice, and any brains you get, you are going to set aside. Those are potential victory points. Any shots that you get, you are going to also set aside, because if you get 3 of those, then you bust. You don't get any points of what you have collected so far this round, and any of the footprints there, you will keep those for the next set. You're going to draw back up to 3, and since I had 1 footprint there, I draw 2 more dice, and then you would roll again. Now this is, of course, if you want to do that. I could have decided to stop with 1 brain and call it quits, but that's not very many, and I only have 1 shot, so feeling a little lucky here. Getting the 3 dice, rolling. I got 2 shots. I get nothing because I already had 1 before. And so I would have gotten an extra brain had I not rolled the 3rd shot there. And so that's the game right there. You're trying to get to 13 points the fastest. Once somebody hits that 13 mark, then everybody else everybody else that hasn't gone yet in that round gets to go an equal amount of times. And they could actually go ahead and get above 13 and win the game. And so even if you hit the 13, you might decide to go ahead and push your luck a little bit further because there's somebody else that's maybe getting closer. And so you want to put a gap there because somebody can win with 14 if you had 13. And so you want to go ahead and make sure of that. And so it's a very simple, basic, quick push your luck game. Most games, unless people are very unlucky, last less than 15 minutes. And so it's a great little filler game. It's a game that you can play a whole bunch in a row. And so, Zombie Dice, pushing your luck there. Now, the next game I want to talk about is The Quacks of Quedlinburg. And this is one of my favorite push your luck games. In this game, you are filling up a cauldron with these different ingredients. You have a bag. You're building up a bag, and you're drawing from this bag these chips. And if you draw white chips, those aren't necessarily good, because if you draw more than 7 points worth of white chips, you are going to bust. And so you're drawing one at a time, a chip out, and you're placing it on your cauldron. You get to go up the amount of spaces that are indicated by the number on that chip, and trying to get as far along this track as you can, because the further along you get, it means more victory points, and it means more buy power, to buy more chips, more powerful chips, because you start out with just 2 good chips. You have a pumpkin and a green chip, and you start out with just those 1 chips, and everything else are those white chips, which aren't necessarily good. They do advance you on the track, but if you get too many of them, you bust. And they don't have any special powers, whereas a lot of the ones that you get throughout the game are going to have special abilities as well. And so you're pushing your luck, trying to decide, do I stop now? I have 6, and there's a 3 in there still. Do I stop and call it quits right now, or do I press my luck and hope that I can get either a good chip or a 1? Because even at 6, a 2 would bust you right there. And so you got to kind of take those chances sometimes to try and get further along. And the good thing about if you bust, though, in this game is you do get to choose either victory points or buy power. And in the early game, you're going to choose that buy power. And the later game, you might want to choose those victory points to try and keep pace with everybody else. And so, a great push your luck game. Enjoy it very much. It's one of our family's favorites as well. The next game I want to bring up is Caro. Now, Caro is a 2-player only game that has a pretty solid push your luck element where you are rolling dice, and you have a timer that you flipped over when you're rolling these dice, and you can roll the dice as many times as you want. However, if you run out of time in your timer, you get nothing. None of the resources you rolled will count, and that timer will slowly roll between every turn that you have until you refill it. And so you don't want to spend too much time rolling the dice, or you're going to have to spend resources to refill. And if you spend too much time in a certain time, when you run out of that timer sand, you are going to bust and not get anything. Also along those lines, if you roll any fire symbols, those don't do you any good as far as resources go. And so the more you roll dice, the more likely you're going to roll some of those fire symbols, and those dice become useless to you at that time. And so a good push your luck element with a real-time element along with it. And so that is Kero, or Caro, because it's short for kerosene, so Caro. The next one I want to talk about isn't necessarily in the same kind of way of press your luck, but it is a good kind of press your luck or push your luck kind of game. That is Clank. And this is Clank Legacy here, my favorite thus far of the Clanks. I haven't tried Catacombs yet, but out of the ones I have done, I really enjoy this because I just enjoy the legacy element as well as the somewhat semi-cooperative. But let's go ahead and get into talking about the push your luck kind of mechanism for this game. So in this game, you are going down into this dungeon, and you could just go very quickly into the dungeon and get a low value card and or low value artifact and come back out, and that would be all well and good. But others are more likely to get more points by staying in the dungeon longer. And so you could delve deep into the dungeon, get the highest artifacts, and maybe even get a backpack so you can carry 2 artifacts. And as well as you're getting cards that can give you points as well. But the trick here is, if you go too deep into the dungeon and stay in there too long, you may accumulate enough Clank that the dragon gets you and you lose, and you get 0 points for being knocked out below the level, below ground there. Or your other opponents could get some artifacts and get back to base, and then they start pulling more and more cubes as well, making it more likely that you will not survive and you'll get 0 points if you've been too long in the dungeon. So it's a little bit of a different way that this game uses that push your luck mechanism, but it definitely still counts in my book as push your luck, as you are trying to decide how long you're going to stay in that dungeon, how deep you're going to go to try and get the most points, or risk just getting a small amount of points and being the first one back and hoping that is enough. That is Clank. And the last one I want to talk about may be the most controversial as far as we're talking about push your luck games, but I think it qualifies. Codenames Duet. And the reason why I say this one qualifies for push your luck is there's this concept of how many different cards am I going to try to connect at once. I could try a somewhat vague clue that's going to be broad and say there's 4 different words that apply to this clue, but then that may be so out there that it doesn't lead to anything that your partner is able to come up with, or it may even link something that you don't want them to link if you try to go too broad. But then again, if you go too specific, then you're not getting as much that round. So do you try to push your luck a little bit in trying to go for 3 or 4 words connected all at once? Or do you play it a little bit safer and just try to connect 2 words? And so while it isn't traditionally your push your luck type, I do think that it still qualifies because you are kind of pushing your luck in how many words that you are going to try to connect at once, and getting a little bit more dangerous if you connect more words at once. As an honorable mention, I wanted to bring up Wingspan because Wingspan Asia has added some push your luck cards to the game. We have a couple here that rely on dice rolls. It says choose any 2 dice, roll them up to 3 times. Each time if you roll 1 worm or fish, cash 1 here. And those are worth a point each. So I roll the 2 dice, and I got 1 worm. So I go again if I want to risk it. Oh, I got a fish. That means I could cash this for 2 right now for the fish that I got in the worm, or I can go for 3 or 0. Oh, bust. Got 0 there. So that's how the pressure luck works here. And you got another one here that's choose any 1 dice. Roll it up to 3 times. Each time if you roll a worm, fish, or rat, you can cash 1. Okay, so I got a worm. Do I go again? Oh, I missed it. I lose. And then here's a different one here. I'll just get these out of the way. This one here says up to 3 times, draw 1 card from the deck. When you stop, if the bird's total wingspan is less than 110 centimeters, tuck them behind this bird. If not, discard them. Of course, each one of these tucked cards is going to be 1 point. And so I could go there. Oh, it's a 16 centimeter bird. I feel pretty lucky. Let's go again. 21 centimeters. Let's go again. 31 centimeters. All those would add up to less than 110. So I would have gotten to tuck 3 cards for 3 points there. Let's try again. If I were to activate it again later. 17 centimeters. Oh, I'm feeling really lucky there. 17 isn't very high. Oh, 120. I bust. I get 0 points for that because I busted. Third time around, we come through. See, we got a 30. Okay. And a 41. I probably want to stop there. I mean, it's 71. Anything 39 and less would still make it. Or sorry, 38 and less because it has to be less than 110. But if I were to go for it, so that's 2 points if I stop right there. If I go for it, 49 would have busted right there. And so that's how the Press Your Luck works with these Wingspan Asia cards. So these are some games that do push your luck well. Let me know in the comments what games you enjoy that are push your luck type games. And as always, have a great day.